Hey everybody! Today we're going to be talking about some more indie games on the Nintendo Switch eShop. We're going to be focusing on some games that are weird, bad, good, all of them in there. But mostly I want to also make sure that whatever I do show is also easily accessible, meaning it's not going to be super expensive, it's going to be either cheap or it's going to be constantly on sale. So without further ado, let's get started. First up is The Deer God. This game isn't really new for the eShop. It released back in December 2017, but I've seen it resurface and get lots of attention lately, mostly for this one line here in the description. It made me curious. Does this game actually do this?
Human, you must redeem yourself for the brutal actions you have inflicted upon our kind. You must now feel what it feels like to be one of us. If you do not redeem yourself, there will be far greater consequences. The elders will be watching you.
The Deer God is a survival game, starting off as a hunter that is reincarnated as a deer. The game centers around this concept as you go through the world, finding food, fighting other animals, and using mating as one of the game's save systems. It's weird. It's a simple game, so the challenge of your religion is mostly in seeing the perspective of the animal that is trying to survive. It's honestly not that deep of a narrative, but the visuals and sound design is really top notch. I know many will brush it off based on its pixel art style, but it has a nice charm that reminds me of newer hybrid pixel style games, like Octopath Traveler, except less blur effects, which The Deer God also has some options if you want that. Overall, I enjoyed my time with The Deer God. It was a nice journey that has its quirks. If you're into survival games, this is a nice one, especially if it's on sale. Elemental Knights R is an MMORPG, and make no mistake, this is definitely a mobile game built for phones and brought over to Switch. This is one I actually hadn't noticed on the eShop before, even though the listing says it was released in 2018. I'm not really sure how it happened, but the game started off in Japanese, and I was spamming buttons when I noticed the language had changed to English. It's also not the most accurate translation, but it's enough to get the job done. Immediately we're popped into a world that shows its origins. These low poly, low res textures are what we will be looking at for the entire play session. Still, I think they have a sort of remastered PlayStation 1 game type of charm to them. The sound effects, on the other hand, the music is just fine, nothing too special, so the big draw here has to be the gameplay. It reminds me the most of games like Dragon Quest XI, where you can move around and it has pretty much no impact on your attack or defense. It isn't a bad game, but being an online game, it has those pesky microtransactions. But at least they're not as bad as in many other games. Try it out if it's on sale, but I personally won't be coming back to this game. Party Treats is one I'll quickly go over because it's just as it sounds, a party game. Though it is playable in single player, even offering a campaign, don't expect anything beyond the same exact levels just by yourself or with bots. I didn't have the opportunity to try it out with friends, but it seemed like a fun time nevertheless. Its campaign is probably the weakest part, being just one mode of gameplay with minimal changes other than a different map. There are 5 other modes here that I think are both better and worse. Classic, where you just avoid obstacles and reach the goal. Last Ice Standing, where you aim to not be the last one to reach the refrigerator. Go Go Pan is just like Classic, but you start off from closer points and you try to reach a pan. Icy Race is a race around a trap-filled track. This one was the worst, mostly because it takes such a long time to go around the track. It stops being as fun. Food Cart is the last mode, once again a competition to be the first, but this time you're hitting a button and that sends a cart speeding. Honestly, not much variety between these games, but they're enough for a short burst to serve its purpose as a party game. If it's cheap and you have friends to play with, I recommend it. Conduct Together is another one that I'll be going over pretty quickly. It's an action puzzle game, and it's mostly about getting passengers from one stop to another, but it gets increasingly complex with each level, adding obstacles and different trains. It's that type of game that feels addictive because you can be 1 second off and you lose, fully knowing that you can do it in one more try, or 2, or 3. I am not good at this game. However, that does not make it any less enjoyable. This is an extremely fun game to play in short bursts, and being on the Switch means it is perfect for a quick session while waiting to arrive somewhere. You can play this game with friends locally, so if you once again have friends, this is one to try out. Revenge of the Bird King is the last one we'll be talking about today, and it's also the one that surprised me the most. See, I'm a person that gives a fair shake to every game, no matter how bad it looks or is. Revenge of the Bird King is one I fully expected to be bad. I'll be honest, I'm not a fan of these pixel games that try to replicate the NES style. This might get me into some trouble, but I don't think that most NES games hold up remarkably well visually. So it's weird that many try to copy this style for new games. Revenge of the Bird King is a true to form, tough platformer game, and I actually really enjoyed it. While it doesn't really do much new in the graphics department, again modeling after NES style, it gets the basics across well enough. It's challenging, it's responsive. Every time I died, I felt it was because of my fault, not because the game was too difficult in gameplay or controls. This is a really solid game, and I highly recommend it. And that is it for today. Are you going to be trying out any of these games? Let me know down below. If you have any other suggestions, also let me know down below. If you want to stay up to date, make sure you follow me here on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe, ring that bell, hit that like button, hit that dislike button if you didn't like the video. If you want to stay up to date, follow me on social media. And if you want to catch me streaming on Twitch, I will be streaming more often, so go ahead and follow me on there too. Until next time, I am Spaxer.